Welcome, coffee enthusiasts, to Brewing for Equity, the podcast brought to you by the Coffee Coalition for Racial Equity. Join us as we embark on a flavorful journey through the world of coffee, exploring every nuance and perspective through the eyes of Black and Brown people in the industry. This podcast is a space dedicated to amplifying the voices and experiences of those who contribute to the rich tapestry of the coffee world. We are committed to building a racially diverse and equitable coffee industry. So let's brew conversations, share ideas, and foster a community centered around the love of coffee. All right, so welcome, Bhavi, to Brewing for Equity. It's fantastic to have you on the episode. I'm so chuffed that you've managed to find a little bit of time in your busy life to share some insights with us on our topic of localizing the flavor wheel. But before we get into that, I would love for you to sort of just tell the audience a little bit about yourself. I know a bit about the work you've done so far as food and tea, and being a multilinguist and all the other accolades. But yes, please do share with us a bit more about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Bhavi and I'm from India. I have a background in food. I have a bachelor's degree in dairy technology. So my specialization is dairy there. And I also have a master's in rural management. Currently, I work as a content strategist and a brand building expert. But apart from that, I also write about food, primarily coffee. I also write about tea. I write about ice cream. And I'm open to write about anything food. I entered the specialty coffee space about 6-ish years ago. Six years ago, yeah. And so as part of my bachelor studies, I have a very strong background in sensory evaluation, in food microbiology, food chemistry, food engineering, how all the machinery and everything that is involved in any kind of processing of food made, all that sort of thing. And as part of that, we also study coffee and tea, among other things. Okay, so right from your basic lemon juice to tea, coffee, and all sorts of foods we study in my bachelor studies. And then we build on it with dairy concepts. So that's where I had my initial introduction. All my life, I had been a soluble coffee drinker until I entered the specialty coffee space.
Right.
And how I entered the specialty coffee space is also an interesting story because I was in a city in India called Mumbai. I love the city. I keep visiting it very often. It's a very busy and a beautiful city. And I was just walking around, which is something I love to do when I travel. I just put on my running shoes and walk all over the city. And while doing that, one afternoon, I had free time. So I was just looking up events in the city online and I found workshop about introduction to specialty coffee, cupping and roasting. So I was like, okay, let's enroll. This is interesting. And I ended up at that workshop. And I learned that was my first introduction to what is specialty coffee, the grading form, cupping, different roasts. And the good thing was, at the end of the workshop, they give you a bag of coffee to take home so you can brew it and continue your journey. The roaster where this happened is called Blue Tokai. And around the world right now, Blue Tokai is really well known and they have great coffees. And I owe my introduction to specialty coffee to them. And that's where I started. Today, I have bylines in 5 publications: Perfect Daily Grind, Barista Magazine, Fresh Cup Magazine, Coffee, Tea and Ice Cream, and Coffee Intelligence. And I'm hoping to write more stories and bring out different aspects of coffee.
Amazing. I love that. I love the fact that you had that sort of base introduction into coffee from roasting to cupping. That's like amazing. And when you took home your bag of coffee, how did you prepare it? What method did you use to prepare your coffee?
So, like I said, until that point in my life, I was an instant coffee drinker. Even after that, I still used to have a flirty relationship with instant coffee because I'd keep going back to it sometime. I was not a black coffee drinker until that point. And the bag of coffee I had got was the MS Estate organic coffee that Blue Tokai releases every year. Today, the producer of that coffee is a very, very good friend of mine, and it just so worked out. But that coffee I used to brew with a tea strainer because I did not have any gear. I did not have a grinder. I didn't have a weighing scale. But the good thing was that the at Blue Tokai, they introduced it to me in such a simple way that I never felt out of place. I never felt like this is too complicated. I can't do this. I might just add a spoon of instant coffee and be done with it. I never felt that. I felt a joy in brewing, and it is because I was introduced to it in such a nice way that even without any fancy gear, and coffee gear can get really expensive, but without any gear, I can brew myself a good cup of coffee.
Good. And that makes it accessible to a wide audience. It's not just for a particular type of coffee enthusiast, for example, but that's,
Absolutely. If at that point of time somebody had told me that a grinder is going to be this much and you need a weighing scale and you need this and you need that, I was like, let it be. I'm not doing this.
Don't blame me. I don't blame you. But also, what you didn't add is that you're also a founding member of the Happy Coffee
Happy
Network.
Coffee Network.
Yes.
Yes.
And you're also the AeroPress ambassador for
Yes.
India, right?
Yes.
Love
How
it.
Happy Coffee Network happened is also a very funny story. So ITC used to do, you have ITC, right? I forget the full form. They are a collective and they were doing a series of webinars for young professionals in coffee. And in one of those, it used to be every Wednesday night around the same time. So I used to attend it, and it was a great learning experience because we had very young professionals from different phases and value chains of coffee. It was good to listen to them. And in one of those webinars, we had Wendelian.
Nice.
And what she said in the webinar resonated with me because she said there's no such thing as a stupid question. You have a question, please go ahead and DM the people who feel could answer it. And Instagram has played a big role in how specialty coffee got introduced to a lot of people. So one fine time, she posted a story saying she's looking for people who could help with content. So I took her advice and shamelessly DM'd her. How about me? She's like, are you serious? Like, yes, absolutely. And that's how we got introduced to each other after her webinar. And I told her that I had seen her in that webinar and what she said really resonated with me. And we just clicked. And I started helping her out with content and we became friends. And then Happy Coffee Network happened. So that's how that part of the thing happened.
Amazing. Thank you. And what's the purpose of a Happy Coffee Network? What's the purpose?
It's like a community where all of us ask questions. We have master classes, we have brew alongs, we share something that we've read or heard. And they also have offline meetups at the major coffee events. Like last month, I did a master class about coffee cocktails. Very simple, easy coffee cocktails that anybody can make at home.
Yum.
Because
Love
I
it.
realized that a lot of people have never tried coffee cocktails or heard about it and never got along to try it, or have tried it at a bar or at a restaurant but never made it at home. They're like, okay, they just never got across that barrier of actually doing it. So I broke down the recipes into very simple formats. I came up with an algorithm that you can use to build any any coffee cocktail or any cocktail for that matter. That helps, when you add this plus this, and you get this.
Nice. Oh, wonderful. Wow. So not only are you, um, writing all these articles, creating cocktail recipes, you're also interviewing Indian producers as well on your IG lives as well. So you're doing a lot. Are you working on any other projects at the moment?
I'm trying to look into the history of the Indian filter coffee. So around the world, when you say filter coffee, it's the manual filter that we have, right? Could be a drip, or could be a V60, or could be an AeroPress, something like that.
Yeah.
In India, filter coffee is a whole brewing method in itself. It's a whole different coffee. You have a South Indian filter, and it's served in a bowl and a cup, and
Mm.
you just pour
Mhm.
it from one to another and froth it up, and it's a whole culture and a practice, and for many it is a very go-to method. You wake up and that's what you need.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting to me because India has its own brewing method, but if you look at it carefully, it's very, very similar to the Vietnamese fin. It's
Yeah.
almost the same, except the Indian filter has a chamber at the bottom. The Vietnamese one is brewed straight into your cup or a carafe or something, right? Otherwise, the basic principle is the same. You have that mesh with the holes, and you pour water on the top. It's very similar, and it's very interesting to me that
Yeah.
two countries so far apart have such a similar method of brewing.
That's
So
so
how
true.
does that happen? There has
Exactly.
to be some connection, right? It's either when the colonial powers came along, or maybe through the trade routes. Could be a lot of things. Maybe it originated there and came here, maybe it originated here and went there, because
Mhm.
there have been a lot of cultural interactions. If you see the food of Southeast Asia as well as the eastern coast of South India, there is a lot of similarity there,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there were major trade routes on that path, and there have been a lot of cultural interactions. So somewhere something should have happened.
Yeah, I agree because similarly, there are those overlaps when you look at, say, for example, how coffee came to be cultivated in the Caribbean, for instance. And similarly, I feel that there is also that sort of parallel with how coffee became cultivated in India. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can speak a little bit about the history of how coffee came to be cultivated in India.
So before I get to how it was cultivated in India, one another interesting thing I found was in the History of Coffee podcast, and that's where I got digging. And when I was writing my piece about the Coffea travancorensis, when I did a lot of research about the history of coffee in India, I found that coffee has been in India way before it started being cultivated properly in India.
Oh,
If you look at very ancient maps of where coffee was being cultivated, I see that coffee was also cultivated in the Himalayan belt, where right now we do not cultivate coffee on this side of the border, on our side of the border. But if you
oh,
look at other side of the border where Nepal is situated, Nepal cultivates its coffee in that belt. So
oh,
it is
wow.
quite a logical conclusion that even this side of the border, coffee was being cultivated. And considering it's the Himalayas, it's very likely it was happening.
Yes,
And if you look at records from, say, the Mughal period or that period of history, there are mentions of a kahwa or that kind of beverage, which
yes,
could be coffee.
yes.
I was listening to the History of Coffee podcast, which is an amazing podcast, and I definitely recommend everybody to read it. It mentions that there were traders from the port of Surat. Surat is about 2 hours from me. It's
Okay.
in the same state that I live in, and it is known to be a very historic port. So traders from that port used to go to the Middle East, and they used to take goods from here, and they were so highly revered that they used to get a 5 cannon salute.
Oh, wow.
When their ships used to arrive at the port in the Middle East, they used to get that. That's what the podcast says. And I was like, yeah. And they used to bring back roasted coffee, because at that point in time, taking green coffee beans was not allowed, as we know.
Yeah.
So roasted coffee beans used to come out. But further down the timeline, there was this saint called Baba Budan who
Mhm.
hid a few seeds and brought it along with him to India.
Yes.
That's how the story goes. And he planted it at a place that is now the Chikmagalur region, which is the major coffee producing region of India.
Okay.
Even today, like, it is the major coffee producing region of India. It's in the state of India called Karnataka, and the port Surat that I mentioned, and the state that I live in, it's called Gujarat, which is in Western India.
Yes, yeah. So you're
Okay.
literally in the middle of everything coffee where you are. You're in the heart of
Makes
it.
you wonder whether it was all a coincidence or it was destined to happen.
I feel it was destined. What do you reckon? Oh gosh, but thank you for that. That's really insightful as far as the history of India is concerned, and it's really sparked my interest even to do more digging myself into the history and the cultivation of coffee. I didn't
Yeah.
actually know that I didn't know that it wasn't roasted beforehand.
Because the kingdoms in that region were absolutely prohibiting the spread of coffee. So if you
Mm,
take green coffee out, you can still grow it in different regions and their monopoly over that goes off.
right,
So it was only roasted coffee that was allowed to go out.
right. So interesting. Wow, thank you. Thank
In
you for
fact,
that.
if you see, when I say that coffee was in India even before this incident happened, the native coffee varieties that exist in India, they have been there for ages and ages before Baba Buddha ever stepped on the land of India.
Yeah.
These
Wow.
are wild native species that are not commercially cultivated.
Right. Not
So,
cultivated.
like
Mm,
the piece that I mentioned, the article that I mentioned appeared in the Barista magazine last year in the October-November issue. It focuses on one such species called the Coffea travancorensis. Travancore used to be a royal kingdom in India. It's also a place here in the southern part of India.
yeah.
And the name is after that place. That's why Travancorensis. And if
Right.
you look at the plant, it is like 1.5 foot tall.
Okay.
It's pretty tiny, right? It's like an undershrub, not even a proper shrub.
Yeah. 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 Oh, wow. So it's
And it
quite
has black beans, black cherries, not beans,
very.
sorry, black cherries, yeah. And it's
So,
pretty tiny. It has small flowers.
yeah. And what are the
There are other
what's
native
the sort of
species
flavor?
also. There are other native species in India also, like you have the Coffea bengalensis,
Yes.
you have Coffea deccansis, you have many other species in India that have existed all along. Maybe they were there when the continental drift happened, because after all, at one point in history, all the continents were just one piece, right?
Yeah. 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 Of course. And what were the flavor notes, would you say, for the varieties that you've just mentioned?
I've not tasted them. It's
You've not.
very rare to
Ah,
find
okay.
it.
Okay. No problem. No problem at all. We
Yeah,
can edit that bit out.
I've not tasted them.
That's all right. That's all right. So moving on to, so I guess, the attitudes of Indian folk and coffee. What are their attitudes towards coffee now? Like, are they quite big coffee drinkers? Are they still more leaning towards tea drinking? What's the overall thoughts behind?
Overall, over time, India has gone from being a primarily tea drinking nation to coffee drinkers gaining more ground. And
Okay,
now black coffee drinkers are also increasing thanks to the specialty coffee wave that is happening.
right.
But still, soluble is a big market in India. But even otherwise, while tea still remains popular beverage,
Mhm.
coffee is making quite a mark.
Oh,
The
amazing.
cafe culture is happening. Cafes are becoming cool places to hang out. Offices are having vending machines that can give out good coffee, and not just those instant powder coffees, but you have freshly ground coffee coming in vending machines.
Amazing. And the
So
coffee, so go ahead.
that does add to the culture, right? I mean, because earlier I remember finding coffee at local small shops was very difficult. It still is in a lot of parts, but you have good cafes everywhere. Even like my office used to have this machine from a brand called Cafe Coffee Day, where the beans were put in the hopper, and I would get freshly ground and brewed cappuccino or latte or an espresso
Amazing.
just at the press of a button.
Amazing. And the coffee that's been used, is it Indian origin coffee, or is it tend to be
Yeah.
from other places? Oh, okay.
Cafe
Oh,
Coffee Day has its own estates from which it sources.
amazing. Oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, that's really insightful. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for that. I was going to ask you, how have you seen the Indian coffee culture evolve over the years, and what your role has been in that transformation? I don't know if you wanted to expand on that, but I kind of feel like you've kind of covered a little bit of that
Yeah,
already.
mostly.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
The
Okay.
only thing I could add to that is when
Yeah,
I started digging into the coffee space and learning more about coffee, I found that there is not a lot of information about Indian coffee online. There
mm,
is, it's not like it's non existent, but not
mm,
so much
yeah,
compared to other origins. And Indian coffee, for a very long time, has been seen as a producer of good Robustas, which
yeah,
often end up as filler coffees.
yes.
But we also produce good Arabicas, though we are primarily a Robusta producing nation.
Yeah. I feel like Robusta is coming up a lot more. Coffee brands are turning to Robusta, and you can get some really great high grade Robusta, and the flavor notes are
But that
wonderful.
that still notion still exists that Arabica is good coffee, Robusta is cheap
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah,
Not at least not so good as Arabica.
yeah,
But the point is, I don't even see why we have to compare. They are two different species. Why
exactly.
would you want to say that this is better and this is not? Like you can't compare apples and oranges, right? It's
Yeah,
two different things.
yes, yeah. I
So
agree.
there's still a lot of long way to go, I mean, because Robustas are still not seen in that good a light as Arabicas. And every so often you encounter bags of coffee, not specialty, but even otherwise.
Yeah,
100% Arabica, high quality Arabica. We only use the choicest, best quality Arabica.
yeah, yeah.
Hey, what did Robusta do to you, man?
Yeah, it's seen as superior, but yeah, I feel like that could change. And I feel like it is changing slowly. You do have quite,
Yes.
I guess you can call them disruptor brands who are kind of coming in and changing that whole mindset about Robusta
Yeah,
coffees. And I feel that that market is growing.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. I have tasted a beautiful Robusta,
Yeah.
which actually tasted like vanilla pastry
Ooh.
with a hint of cloves. It
Ooh.
was so amazing.
The way you've described it, I'm like, yes, give me some.
Yeah, like vanilla pastry in your Robusta with a hint of cloves. It's like
Mhm.
all the nice, warm feeling you want.
It sounds divine. I love it. Sounds
Yeah.
divine.
The roaster is also a friend. So I was like, this is an awesome Robusta. If
Yes.
anybody wants to check it out, the roaster is Naivo Coffee Roasters and the producer is Kere Haklu.
Oh, amazing. We could probably add some of those notes
Yeah,
to the description so anyone can check them out as well.
it is
Yeah.
a really good Robusta.
Love it.
Like
Thanks for
every
sharing that
year,
with us.
there are
Um,
some coffees that I will keep buying every year. Every new harvest, when they
yeah.
release it, I will buy it. And this is one of those coffees.
Is it one of them?
The
Oh,
other is,
wow.
of course, the MS Organic coffee. That was my first specialty coffee. That is a given. These two coffees I will buy every year without fail.
Oh,
They
oh,
put it up
amazing.
on the website and I will buy.
Sealed and approved by Bhavi, everyone.
Yes.
So I thought we could probably move on to some of your thoughts about, localizing the flavor wheel.
Mhm.
I know that the flavor wheel was meant as a sort of a visual and I guess sensory guide, and was
Yeah.
set, I guess, as a global standard by the was it the SCA, the Specialty Coffee Association, and also with the Coffee Quality Institute. But then they sort of revised it in 2016, or it was
16.
revised, yeah, by what was it, the
World Coffee Research.
That's right, yeah. And I guess some of the criticisms that have come out is that the descriptors are very much leaning towards European palates or Western palates, and doesn't take into consideration the more local sort of flavors and tastes that exist, you know. So and also, just to add, oh gosh, what's his name? It was on YouTube, decolonizing coffee through flavor. That was it, by Raganath, I think that's his name. And he mentioned that, well, he gave the example of a term that's used to describe some of the Indian flavors as earthy.
Earthy, yeah.
Yeah, and that sits in between.
So in the sensory lexicon, it is musty, earthy, and musty,
That's
dusty.
right. Yes,
Right? Yeah.
exactly. And that's it's like deemed as unsavory, I guess, and not very desirable, if you want to say.
Absolutely.
So,
Because
like,
earthy is one thing and musty is a different thing.
yeah, absolutely. And if I'm honest with you, if somebody describes something as tasting musty, I wouldn't be interested in it. And the fact that it sits so closely, it does seem a little bit derogatory, is that probably what I want to say. But
It
what are
gives
your
unpleasant connotation, right?
Mhm.
Even in the wheel, if you see color wise, all the fruits are in a very pleasant pink and yellow and green kind of color. And earthy is like browns and grays and blacks.
Yeah.
It's a very subtle thing, but it's there.
Yeah.
And earthy is a note that you'll find in Indian coffee. You'll also find it in, say, Indonesian coffee, right? It's typical. It's going to be there. But it's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. It's just a different thing.
Yeah. So do you think that it's worthwhile localizing the flavor wheel?
Absolutely.
Who will it
At
benefit?
this point, we all understand that coffee from every origin is different.
Mm.
I can't give you a Kenyan coffee and an Indian coffee and a Colombian coffee and then tell you that now start comparing this, because origins are different, varieties are different, flavor attributes will be different. There is so much diversity in coffee, right? So, like 2 years back when I was in Vietnam, I was at the cafe show there.
Yeah.
And most of the people I bumped into there had never tasted Indian coffee.
Mm.
I usually carry a bag of coffee with me when I'm traveling. So I was like, okay, we are going to remedy this. The next day when I went there, I took my bag of coffee and I put it up at the cupping station, and everybody cupped it, tasted it. They were quite mind blown. I was like, first thing you have to do is keep an open mind. If you're
Yes.
going to go in thinking a particular expectation, it might disappoint you. That doesn't make the coffee bad. Coffee is still good. It was specialty grade. It was high scoring, good Indian coffee.
Nice.
And the responses I got was, it is earthy, it has hints of spice. I remember one guy said a little tobacco-ish kind of feel, so I'm assuming it was like a woody smoky kind of thing.
Yes.
Now this
Yeah.
is very unique and normal in Indian coffee. Our coffees are earthy, they have hints of spice. It's normal. It doesn't mean coffee is bad. It's
Right.
actually very good coffee. It's
Yes.
just different from, say, a Kenyan or a Colombian or a Rwandan coffee.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And so, with that being said, do you think the current flavor wheel should change completely to reflect those flavors, so it becomes easier for producers from some of these origin countries to
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. Why not? Because, see, for example, there are two things here. If you tell me, for example, blueberries, Now, blueberries are not that common a thing in India.
Right.
You can't go to your local vegetable market and find blueberries there. It's rare.
Yeah.
Maybe in some big cities that happens, but most of India does not have that.
Mhm.
And now, if you tell me my coffee has a note of blueberry, and what if I've never tasted it?
Yeah. 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 How
This
would
is
you?
something that my trainer, when I was learning cupping at that workshop I mentioned, he told me this, that when he was learning cupping, his trainer in his notes said this coffee has notes of marzipan.
Oh,
And while he was the trainee, he wrote it has notes of almond.
right. Makes
Both
sense.
of them are right, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
The thing was, my trainer at that point had never tasted marzipan, but he had tasted almonds because that
Right.
is commonly available here.
Yes. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. What are some of the local descriptors that would be better used from your point of
For
view?
example, we have a fruit here called mulberry. Okay, I love mulberries.
Me too.
Now, that is not very common across the world as much.
Mm.
As such, they have not such a long shelf life either. They're nice, juicy black, sometimes red.
Hmm.
That is not a flavor a lot of people can get. It is common for me, but
Mm.
maybe it is not so common for other people.
Yeah.
Same way, in India itself, there are so many varieties of mango. What I perceive as mango might be the mangoes that I have eaten over my life, which
Yeah.
could be local to my region.
Yeah.
And there could be another person in another part of India who has eaten different varieties of mango, and their experience with the mango could be different. In the Happy Coffee Network, I remember one guy mentioned that I have no idea what lychee tastes like
Yeah.
because wherever he is, probably in Europe or the US, has never tasted lychee, which
Yes.
is
Yeah.
okay. For me,
Yes.
lychee is normal. Every
Yeah.
season I eat it. But I live in a tropical country where I can get lychees.
Yes. Yeah. 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 I love lychees or lychees.
Lychee, lychee, we chill. And lychee doesn't mind.
Yeah. I love them. So that's really good example. That's so, so true. There was somebody who also mentioned we were at a cupping a while back, and where they are based, they do not have strawberries, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was interesting, hearing their thoughts on the type of flavors that should be described on the wheel. But I know that there's a little bit of pushback from those who feel that the flavor wheel should remain as it is.
There's two things here actually. So, when you look at localizing a flavor wheel, one is it has to reflect the terroir, not the terroir, the origin where it is coming from.
Yeah.
Because every origin will be different,
Yes.
right? That's one thing. And the second thing is the flavor descriptors have to be relatable for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
my flavor wheel has notes that I have no idea what they're about,
Mm-hmm.
what am I gonna do? How am I even going to get past it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's important for the producers um to have that option and that flexibility. I know a lot of people now using, say, home brewers are using flavor wheels at home, and end users and customers are becoming more discerning about, the flavors of coffee that they buy.
Yeah.
So, and even in cafes as well, that you sometimes walk into a cafe and on the wall it will have a flavor wheel, etc. So yeah, I think it's become more widely used than we
Yes.
actually original, than it was originally intended. So yeah, yeah, that's
There is
good.
a
Thank
curiosity in the market to learn more, to understand what is happening in their cup, where is it coming from, why is it the way it is.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And they should be as well. And it's good. It's good, I think. Um, it's good that the customers are asking more questions. It's good that the customers are more curious about the origins of the coffee. How is it produced? Who produces it? What type of processes they use? I think that's all
Absolutely.
important. And I think that the flavor wheel itself should become more localized, or at least, you know, have a few, maybe change a few of the descriptors that they do have, which are not very flattering, let's say, and
Yeah,
you know, be a bit more, I guess, sensitive and conscious about and aware of, you know, how some of the descriptions can be quite offensive.
absolutely. Plus, our processing has changed. We are not
Yeah,
doing washed and naturals alone anymore. We
yeah,
have a whole host of experimental fermentations that are happening. So, for example, winey or boozy coffee could be a kind of defect or undesirable in coffee, going by the very stringent standards.
yeah.
But if you're having an experimental processed coffee, the winey note is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a whole section of consumers who appreciates that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
while our post-harvest processes have evolved, the flavor descriptors also have to evolve.
definitely, definitely. Is there a governing body or an association or organization within India that are interested in spearheading that, or making it a standard, or what?
I
How
think we
would
have
that?
Coffee Board that does a lot of research on this aspect. It's a government body, the Coffee
Okay.
Board of India. Yeah, yeah. They do have research on this. I'm
Mhm.
not 100% sure if they've done specifically about an Indian. No, I think they have. Edit this. They
Oh,
have.
oh, have they?
There is. Please edit this. It's
I
a
will. Don't
government
worry.
body.
Don't worry. Don't worry. It's fine.
So Coffee Board, the thing is Coffee Board does
They
research on
do.
this. Yeah. They have a
Okay,
good team who manages the quality and everything, and they are doing on it.
cool. Definitely. I do think having the localized, more localized flavor will benefit the Indian coffee brands, and also the, I guess, the Indian coffee industry as a whole. How do you think it will benefit them? What, marketing or?
It makes it more relatable. I also know somebody who launched the coffee wheel in a local language.
Ah,
Now, see,
that's
that's interesting
really is.
because that makes it so much more accessible,
Mhm. That's true. There is that
right?
thing about accessibility and it just being for certain group of professionals, but
Yeah.
this then opens it up much wider.
When you have it in a local language that you can easily read and understand,
Yeah.
it's so much more easy for you.
Yeah. And it makes sense. It's like it's a no-brainer really when you think about it. Why is it not in the local language? It makes sense. Yeah. It
India
really,
is a diverse country. We have so many languages.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
While a lot of us can speak English, all of us can't.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, really insightful. Just gonna see if there's anything
Yeah.
else.
Like even for another country, if you're say talking about any country, say Vietnam or say Kazakhstan or any country for that matter, they will have their languages.
Yeah,
If you can offer something in a language that they can understand, it's so much more relatable for them.
yeah, definitely. I would say the same for Africa as well. Just as in India, a wide variety of languages are spoken. And yes, it would definitely be beneficial for the flavor wheel to be in that local language. It makes a lot of sense.
100%.
Yeah,
There
it
is
really.
always a section of people who are able to fluently speak English, understand English, read English. And for me, for all of us English speaking people, it's not a problem. But
Yeah,
what about people who are not that fluent?
yeah,
At least
exactly.
at that point in time. Maybe over time they will, because
Yeah,
working in a cafe, you interact with a lot of different people. And English, after all, is like a standard language that everybody ends up having to learn, even if they don't want to, because that's where all your transactions happen. So
yeah, yeah. That's
call it a
that.
remnant of colonial history or something.
Yeah, pretty much. It is pretty much, isn't it? No, thank
Yeah.
you so much for that. Um, let's see. I guess next question, because we are, I guess, coming towards the end. I know you mentioned a couple of brands that you really enjoy. Are there any other brands, or what coffee are you drinking currently, which is sparking your
Right now,
interest?
I am drinking a coffee from Solberg and Hansen in Norway, and they have released this coffee that is the Cup of Excellence winner for Indonesia, which was also the official Norwegian AeroPress Championship coffee.
Oh,
And I'm loving it. I also have one more coffee from them that's called the Black Coffee, which is their what to say, a shout out to the black metal culture of the
oh,
country.
oh, interesting.
And it's a beautiful, so the Norwegian AeroPress Championship coffee, that one has a sharp acidity. It has a nice uh thing going with that, whereas the black coffee has hints of vanilla and it's on that spectrum. And I'm loving both of those. They're like amazing coffees.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for
In
sharing.
India, the new harvest coffees are just starting to come out.
Yes. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Do you have your eye
So
on
I'm
any?
looking forward to some good coffees this year. One good coffee that I have to buy, but I haven't done it. I was hoping to do it this weekend. It's called the Banana Kens. It's from Balanur Plantations and it's roasted by Half Light Coffee. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, brilliant.
And there's always good coffees coming from Curious Life. They have some really good coffees that I
Right.
really enjoy drinking.
Are they based in India as well? Curious Life?
Yeah, definitely. And of
Oh,
course, I'm looking forward to the Robusta that I mentioned from Naivo Coffee Roasters.
yeah. Yeah. There seems to be quite a few brands coming up in India. It seems to be the last time we spoke, there were a few that you mentioned, and now it seems to have grown even more.
Oh, yes. There's a
Yeah.
lot of very good brands of coffee in India. Uh, Blue Tokai is doing outstanding work, and now they're also in Japan.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, they have a roastery there, and they're doing good. They have some really good coffees, and
Yeah.
each year they're finding new producers, and they're doing really amazing work.
Oh, brilliant.
And in India, actually, you'll find Indian coffee scene completely transforming and specialty scene growing. And we don't have that many of imported coffees, but Indian coffees are a lot. But then also we have importing is not that easy. So
Mm.
Indian coffees are more common around.
And more coming. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've learned so much from this conversation. I know we've spoken before, but I've learned even more today. Um, if anyone is interested in hearing more about your journey or following your journey, learning more about the work that you do or getting in contact, what's the best way to do that?
Find me on Instagram or find me on LinkedIn. I'm super active on both. On Instagram, you can find me at Banjalan Foodie. And on LinkedIn, I'm at Bhavi Patel. You'll find all my work in both these places. And
Brilliant.
if you'd like to talk to me, just hit me up, slide in my DMs, and I'll be happy to respond.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Bhavi. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing some insights with us on Brewing for Equity.
Anytime. You know how
Appreciate-
much I love talking to you.
Yeah.
We can get together and crib about everything that happened in the colonial times and
Yeah.
how it has brought us to where we are today.
Yeah, that's right. I'm hoping to get to India at some point. I would love to explore some of the coffee.
Please do come along. I would say come
Yeah.
along in the winter months. Summer heat is very unforgiving out here.
Is it really?
Please come
Oh
in the
God.
winters.
Sounds a bit like Jamaica.
Oh, my summertime temperatures are like 46, 47 degrees
Whew.
Celsius.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So
And
winter
that's a good day.
months. Oh my God. Wow. Winter
So
months.
avoid summers. Please come in the winter. And winter time, you'll also have the coffee harvest going on. So that's a good time to come.
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, I would like to hopefully add in some plantation, some farm visits and things like
I'd be
that.
happy to connect you to them. No problem. I'll
Oh,
help you plan a trip.
oh, fab. Love it. Love, love, love. I'm just trying to see if there are any other questions I was meant to ask and have not asked. we can edit those in. Let me just double check, make sure we've covered everything. Was there anything you wanted to add, by the way, or anything that didn't cover that you want to add?
Not add as such, but yeah, I could say that focusing on the notes and everything is good. But in that, let's not forget to enjoy the cup of coffee.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is a term that I coined. It's called pineapple pressure. You can name it whatever you like. How I came to this term is I had once bought a coffee which had on its bag written it has notes of pineapple. When I tasted it, I got no pineapple. But because I was so focused on it, I was like, no, it's there. It's there. It's there.
Yeah.
And at some point, I was like, yeah, it's there. That is the pineapple pressure. Even when you're not feeling it, you're feeling it.
Feeling it. I love it. I love that.
So that's pineapple pressure.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And I love this term, pineapple pressure.
Yeah, I do. It's very catchy.
I was so focused on finding pineapple in my cup of coffee. I was like, yes, it's there. It's there. But I was not feeling it. And at some point, I'm pretty sure all of us have faced this.
Yeah.
Being obsessed with the notes written on the bag, and you're like, yes, it's there. It's there.
Yeah. And
in that, how many times we forget to enjoy that simple cup of coffee that we have in front of us.
Exactly.
So notes are a good indicator to have, but it can't be the be all and end all of the cup you're brewing and having.
Definitely. Sometimes I feel like we overcomplicate things when they don't need to be complicated.
Absolutely. So for a very long time, I had given up focusing on the notes. I would be like, I will focus on sweetness, acidity, bitterness, understand how that is coming out in the cup. And once I was comfortable with that, then I was like, okay, yeah, let's then think about the notes.
Right.
And if you're not getting what's on the bag, you're not getting it. It's okay.
It makes sense.
Because cup of coffee, freshly brewed cup of coffee, the flavor that you get from it is a factor of so many variables are involved in it. How you brewed it, what temperature you brewed it, how you're having it. Plus, as we were taught in sensory science, and I'm sure all of us can relate to this, is what we perceive is also heavily dependent on factors that have nothing to do with coffee.
Right. The bias. Yes. Yeah.
The bias, our state of mind. So many times it has happened to me. I have been angry or in a bad mood, but I don't like the cup of coffee I'm having. But that same coffee, if I'm drinking when I'm in a better mood, I like it.
Right.
Happens to all of us, right?
Yeah.
The same coffee when you brew in the morning and before you're going to work, and the same coffee if you brew after work, chances are your perception of it could be different because you had a whole work day that happened in between. Somebody did something at work that really pissed you off.
Right.
Or maybe you had a very good day and you're very happy. Your perception changes.
It's so true. That is so true.
That has nothing to do with the coffee you brewed.
Just
but you still perceive it differently, right?
Yeah, just your mindset. It's so true. Very, very, very true.
2 days ago, you were at a restaurant and you had a dish in front of you that looked so tempting that you did not want to wait for it to cool. So you dug right in and burnt off your taste buds. Now, when you're drinking your coffee, you're not feeling it properly.
No. No.
Coffee is not bad. You just burnt your taste buds 2 days ago. That can happen. And once your taste buds are back at its sharpest, you'll feel it nicely again.
Yeah. Very, very true.
Those are very enjoying that cup of coffee. That's important.
That is so, so true. Yes. So note to everybody, enjoy your coffee first. Don't worry about the flavor note.
Absolutely.
For now. Brilliant.
And there can be variations. Like I can get a particular thing, you can get a particular thing, and that's okay. It can't be like you're getting pineapple and I'm getting milk chocolate. That's too far apart.
Exactly.
But if you say pineapple and I say maybe orange. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
not that far. Could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then you know you're in a similar
Yeah.
region.
With
Yeah.
the thing is, with sensory stuff, there is no 100% correct answer. It's like
Mm.
the marzipan almond example I gave. Both are
Yeah.
right.
Yes, exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
had my trainer's trainer told him, no, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
flavor vocabulary is built with the experience that we have in our lives.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And because everybody's life is different, what we taste is different, our
Yeah.
flavor vocabularies are different.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So the sensory wheel is a good guide, but it can't be a rule.
Right. Right. And I think that's one of the things that possibly needs to change, but there is resistance because of this need for certain folk to have a, I guess, a standard, as they want to put it, a
Yeah,
standard or yeah, a standard that everyone needs to follow, and that's not necessarily beneficial for all, you know. So
definitely.
yeah.
It's like when the sensory wheel puts earthy as a somewhat undesirable thing, or notes of spice as a slightly undesirable thing.
Yeah.
There'll be people who, when they're cupping coffee, would cut marks for it, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the coffee is not bad, na?
Exactly.
It's not like earthy was a defect in there.
Right.
You pick a very fine Indonesian coffee from, say, Sumatra.
Yeah.
It will have a very typical earthy note that is rare to find in other coffees.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how that coffee is.
Mm-hmm. 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 And it doesn't make it bad. It's just different.
No,
That's it.
it's
Yeah.
different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just how every person is different. Every origin can also be different.
Absolutely. And that's why I feel like we should be embracing those differences and the variations rather than trying to almost exclude them, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate this, honestly.
yeah.
Yeah, I really, really
It's
do.
all about just keeping
So
an
yeah,
open mind. It's good to have
yes,
standards of quality. So having a very objective definition of specialty coffee is good. But
yes,
when it comes to flavor, because flavor is such a diverse thing, the flavor descriptors can also be diverse, should be diverse, so that everybody is included in it. Inclusivity is important.
definitely. And on that note, I would love to thank you again for these nuggets of information and insights. It's been a pleasure having you on Brewing for Equity and for sharing your time with us. Thanks, Bhavi.
Don't fall for the pineapple pressure.
We definitely won't fall for it.
Say no to pineapple pressure.
Love it, love it. Oh, Bobby, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you joining us, honestly. And for I know it was really quick, but I know you're a woman who's like quick when it comes
Oh,
to
yes.
if I ask you to
If I
help me,
have something
you're there.
unresponded, I feel uncomfortable.
Right.
If my
Exactly.
phone's notification bar has notifications I've not responded to, I'm like,
Right.
no, 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 I have to do this.
Right, right. I don't know where you find all the time to do everything, but yeah, I appreciate this so much.
One
Oh, wow.
life, Georgina, one life.
I know you said that before when we had a conversation.
Do it
We
all.
can sleep later. That was it, wasn't it? You said we can sleep later.
Yeah. Plenty of time to sleep when you die.
Yeah, exactly. So
And
I'm
that's what vacations are for.
well,
Sleep.
exactly. I think I'm due one now, actually. What about you?
Nice. I'm hoping to get one next month. It's been
Oh,
very long.
good. Anyway,
I need a break. Switch
yeah.
off and unwind.
Yeah.
I call
Anyway.
it get lost to find yourself vacation.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I
which
love
is
that. Say that
which
again.
has been my mantra for all my vacations. When I said I put on my running shoes and I walk around, I will take wrong turns on purpose, even when I know that they are wrong turns, because
Yeah,
getting
yeah, yeah.
lost helps me find so much more.
Amazing. Say that phrase again because it cut when you said it.
Get lost to find yourself.
Ah, nice. I like that. That's really
If you
good.
follow a fixed path with all your planning, how will you find out what you can really do or have
Definitely.
a new experience?
Definitely. Wise words. Wise
Yeah.
words.
So get lost to find yourself. That's how vacation should be.
Perfect. So, what will happen next is we will, you'll get an email. I think it will give you like the links and everything for, when if you want to promote it on your own social media platforms,
Please.
etc., have all the links and everything else. I know you sent your photograph and your bio and everything already. So yeah, so it should be, if it's not the next episode, the episode after, but I'll definitely let you know, or you'll get the email anyway. I will let you know.
Approximately when is it coming out?
It'll probably be next month,
Okay.
September, mid-September possibly. And if it's not September, it'll be October. So
Okay. That works. No problem.
yeah, so it'll be fairly soon, fairly soon.
Yeah. You also need time for editing and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
We cracked a lot of jokes, yes.
Yes. But I feel like we should keep some of those in because they were good. So
Just don't keep my chair.
No, your chair. No, that part is not going to be in it. Don't worry. The
Yes.
lovely clean
That's it.
glass.
You have to edit out the coffee board part.
So which one? Oh yeah,
The coffee board part.
I will. Yeah, that will be edited.
Coffee board is doing good work.
Yeah.
And you never say bad things about government bodies.
Oh no, definitely not. We will cut that out completely. Don't worry.
Yes.
So yeah, do you think of anything else that you want us to add or take out or what have you, or any information you want us to add in the description, just let me know and we'll get that.
No problem.
All right. You're gonna have your dinner now?
I have to cook dinner now.
Oh, you're gonna cook dinner now? Okay. Well, we'll leave you to cook your dinner and enjoy.
You remember when we used to do calls? I used to be cutting vegetables.
I know. You used to be cutting your onions and your tomatoes and everything.
Because I get home from work at around 7:30ish. So
Yeah.
now is the time I do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I won't keep you any longer, but thanks again.
No problem.
We'll touch base soon, yeah?
Love talking to you. If you want more guests from India or you have somebody specific in mind, let me know. I'll be happy to connect.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Bhavi. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining us on Brewing for Equity, a podcast by the Coffee Coalition for Racial Equity. We'd like to say a special thank you to our guest, Bhavi Patel from Banjaram Foodie in India, for sharing her insights on localizing the flavor wheel. My name is Georgina Jarrett, and we can't wait to see you on the next episode of Brewing for Equity.